We're living in a very, very turbulent time nowadays. I call that the white water times. When the water gets so much disturbed, it changes the color to white. And we sit in the very focus points. So we need to be very focused to be able to navigate the future, where to go in the future. It's very pretty much shocking news. Why we're living in this turbulent times nowadays? Because of what happened back in 2008, 2009. The GCC, I call it, the Credit Global Crunch. When it happened, it was during that Black Friday on September. So that's one reason. Later on, back in 2016 again, this gentleman fall down, the oil prices. Used to be from 120 nowadays to below 50. So that's another reason why the future is going to be so much challenging. Future is not going to be the same days we're enjoying nowadays. So things is getting tough and tough day by day. That's not the end of the story. Again, the wars, the profit of wars is still the geopolitical instabilities taken from every single corner of this globe has added to the challenges of tomorrow. Right? Now, so we're living in a period called pretty much uncertain. We're lost. So the uncertainty is going to be the new normal of the life soon. So we're living in a very, very uncertain world. And the leaders, most of the leaders, they're leading with pain. We don't want you to have this. Never think of a pain here. We need to respond, not to react to what's happening to us, to be able to navigate and enjoy the future. This is one of my quotes. I said, why most of people, they're wondering what we're not getting the right result we're looking for. We're not getting what we wanted to do. We're not realizing our dreams. So instead of taking 100% control of our lives, we try to blame others. We became pretty much good as a blame masters, negativists. We just think in a very negative, not a positive way in a daily basis. So that is the reason you're not getting the result. So you're always wearing what I called the V shirt, which is the V stands for victim. So we always see that we're victim for somebody else's decision. Never do that. So what have you been trying to do and say here, Dr. Alleem? This is what I've been trying to tell you. Please, if there's one takeaway from my presentation this morning, focus on this slide and just take it away. Right? The 3 P's. Be very positive, patient, and persistent. Never give up. Things takes time. Never give up. Like the gentleman here, he couldn't make it to Paris, who decided to take a selfie and says, I love Paris here. Right? So do same thing here. I got a story to tell you now. This morning, I've got a story to tell you. Are you ready for the story? You are ready. Thank you. All right, this is my story. It started back on 22nd of April, 2014. Not pretty much time ago, isn't it? Right? It was an earth-shaking news of the whole UAE government. Why? Executive order from His Highness, President Al-Qasimi. He said, I need to restructure SEWA. SEWA stands for Sharjah Electricity Water Authority. He said, I need to go for a massive restructuring. And it has to be done in a very short period of time. We don't even have a chance of one person to fail the transformative changes expected to be done. So you have a very almighty task to do. SEWA, for those of you who have first time to hear, we are serving about 1.5 million people living in Sharjah. And we have installed capacity of 2.5 giga. For those of you in the electrical engineering, they would know what I'm talking about. And daily we're producing for you about 110 million gallons for the people to use. Most of that comes from the seaside. We call the desalination, and the rest are imported from the neighboring states, and we have our own groundwater. That much SEWA is doing. Our budget, we make about 1.8 billion US dollar, my budget, per annum. And if you can compare it to the whole federal government of UAE, we're making about 13.5. So you could imagine how big the organization I'm handling is. It's too big organized. We make about 13.5 of the whole federal government budget. So when I took over, this is what I have inherited, about 4 billion, I'm saying big B as a boy, $4 billion debts with a high interest rate from the banks as high as 9%.
He's a great speaker.
And overstaffed, underskilled, used to have 5,500 employees, and aging power plants, machines, cables, and the list goes on. And frustrated customers. So this is how the customers they used to look like here.
You are here?
In Sharjah, right? Pretty much, right? So that's not the end of the story. When it comes to the brand was really murdered. I call it mismurdered by the mismanagement. So we had a lot of a bad image about what's happening, and then lack of visibility, clarity of all the projects. There was a really lack of visibility, clarity. There's no communication among the organizations, insufficient resources when it comes to the right personnel, to the right financial. So what did I do to overcome? And this is the way how we used to put the fire out. Just it's a joke. Yeah? You're supposed to laugh here anyway, so I didn't make you laugh. So, okay, so I wanted to go with what's called the triple lines, the green and clean economy. Whenever I've been given a task to do a transformation change, I always have this slide in front of me. Whatever I do, I have to respect the society, I have to respect the environment, and I have to respect the prosperity, the profitability of the business, right? So that was the challenge. So, and you have seen this man somewhere? Anyone here? All right, it's $1 million question here. All right, if you have seen him. Okay, I always did with a true vision. Everyone has a vision, isn't it? Even the school here. They have a vision to reach something, but very seldom at the individual level or our corporate level that we have what's called a true vision. A true vision, when you have two things together, you have the mind and you have the heart, right? Right here, you have the mind and you have your heart. When you have the two things working together, you synergize, and this is what you get. Your mind is about a challenge. Your heart is about your timeless principle, your value system. So when you have your mind and your heart working together, your mind become your manager, right, in the system. And your heart become your leader on the system. So you have somebody in the system and someone else on the system. When they synergize together, this is what you got. I call it a hockey stick profit, just like a hockey stick. That much profit you go. So you know where you're hitting to, right? You have the heart and the mind. But your true vision, you cannot move nowhere if you don't have what I call value system, principles. You should have principle in the life to be able to move on. So I came up with about 15 principles. If you see those 15 principles are very universal. Does anyone know what does a smile mean here? Very easy, right? Does not anyone know what's the teamwork means, for example? It's very easy to say, isn't it? So I came up with a very universal principles, digestible principles, actionable principles, and I put them in front of the president, and he was kind enough to write. Even didn't take him a minute to read them and to sign, because he was so much engaged on the program I wanted to. Again, I have written a book. Those who love to read, I don't sell books, by the way, here. But this book's only $500, so if you're interested to buy it later on. All right, so this is one of the good books I've written. Does anyone know this gentleman here? He was kind enough. I sent him a copy of my book, and he was kind enough to respond back to me, took the book with him, and sent me the picture with the ambassador. So I felt so inspired that such a great leader appreciated what I have written and what I have done. Again, principles in life, they are not enough. They need to be safeguarded by something. You safeguarded your principles in life with what I call the value system, the core value. You should have a core values. And the top for a leader, anything should be authentic. Authenticity must be there. The true north, the true guidance, you know where you're heading to. Authenticity is not about leadership. It's about the authenticity of that leadership. And again, ethics, teamwork, and the blah, blah. So we have about 11. So when it comes to the customers, I hate something called the red tapes. You're just, holding them back. They just can't move. We call this a red tape. It does not work in leading in tomorrows. It doesn't look in the way how you look at the tomorrow. You have to be more flexible. Instead of that, you should have what I call the red carpet treatment. It's just like the beautiful red carpet I'm standing on here, right? So you should have that to the red. And I do appreciate what Bill Gates said once. The most frustrated customers, actually, they are the source of the innovation. They're the source of the problem. They're the source of the information you need to know to redesign and do things for a better tomorrow. So, and what I did, based on this, I came up with this beautiful picture, put it in our main website, and I said, hey guys, listen to Sharjah, you're frustrated? Please, shoot me an email that will come to me direct. And to my surprise, I thought it will be only Sharjah people talking to me, sending me their frustration. On the first year, less than a year, I had more than 5,000 authentic emails. I'm not talking about emails looking for jobs or emails looking for so and so, no. Very authentic, to the business, to the point about energy, water, electricity. And all of them, they're just giving a lending hand, how to go, how to move about it. So I was really inspired by this. Again, earlier the customer, they were looking for this when they come to us, to the SEWA, and this is what they're getting. Right? So it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. This is what they used to get. So I created what's called the customer-centric culture, where the system of shared values, behaviors of all the employees, focus them just to delight. It's not only about delight, it's about even amaze the customer. Customer amazement is not about delight anymore, right? Then we came up with a beautiful model. For those of you who are interested, you will have that model here in one of my books, right? So another principle I use, which is pretty much, has anyone here ever heard about co-creation? Anyone here? So you have something new to take back home today. Co-creation is a beautiful word in English, and we use it in management, especially in the leadership side. When things get tough, you need to co-create. Co-creation is about the practice of developing systems, product, services through collaboration. You collaborate with whom? Your people, managers, and the outside world, the suppliers and the vendors. So this is a beautiful thing to know. Can anyone recognize any of those brands here? Hands up, please. Have you seen here? Almost most of the room, right? Those who did not raise up their hand, can you leave the room, please? All right. Anyway, so believe it or not, with all of them, I have signed an agreement. With all of them, with no exceptions. All of them, I did sign an agreement with them because I really wanted to be on that level internationally. So from a very bad in the city, the most wanted, the most hated person, to the most, again, here successful, as it was the MC said, and I was there in most of the local and international media. So again, if you are interested, I've written a book again here. This one much cheaper. You'll get 50% discount, $2,100 only. Just joking. I have a couple of them for the speakers today, and some of them will be for those who are interested to read, right? One last note, please. I have a green dream. Everybody has a dream, but I have a green dream. My green dream, if you would, is to make Sharjah the city of conservation. City of conservation. Looking at the three triple bottom line together. And that can be done only by really embracing the mindset of the sustainability. And the UN was kind enough, the United Nations, to come up with the 17 global goals about the sustainability. And I put my full commitment to those goals. I have even written a book called I Am Committed to those 17 global goals. And believe it or not, in every goal I have written a story of mine happened to me somewhere in the world. Right? So it's a beautiful read for those of you who are interested in reading. This is my quote. Please read it carefully, and love really to embrace this quote. It says, leave your mark, be ashamed to die without leaving a legacy and winning some victory for mankind. Be ashamed to die without leaving a legacy. So what is your legacy? What is driving you to do what you're doing, right? Try to find out. To find your legacy, a lot of people asking me, Rashid, how can I find your legacy? If you really want to find your legacy, you want to do something good to the world, become a philosopher. A philosopher is a lover of wisdom. This came from the ancient Greek. Those people who go for the PhD, what's called PhD, because they're lover of wisdom. They're trying to find the solution from a problem exists somewhere here and there. So adopt that the mindset, because philosopher is much better at questions than answers. The philosophers, all right, tongue twisting. If you say it 10 times, they'll give you $100. 1, 2, 3. All right. So they are pretty much good in asking questions. They are really asking questions. Why? When they ask questions, they really break the old habits, and they find better questions. I call them on the other slide, actionable questions. When you keep asking why, right? Then you come to what's called actionable question that can begin to shift the way you perceive and to perceive things and to image things around and to think about things around. So when you wake up in the bed in the morning, to really to lead in tomorrow's challenging goal, keep this in mind, please. Am I building a meaningful life? Am I keeping the family? Am I keeping the business all together? I hate to use something called the balance between work and life. I hate this word. Call it, please, integration. How to integrate your life and your business together. Integration should be the key. And the second thing is, how much work did I do today that I'll be proud of tomorrow morning? What are you doing? Is that making you proud of yourself tomorrow morning or not? And then what choices I make maximize my happiness. At the end of the day, we all wanted to be happy, isn't it? Does anyone want to be happy today? Right? So please have the question of these things. What things you're doing to make you proud of yourself and others? Again, never stop seeking the wisdom. Does anyone recognize who this gentleman? He's the president of Singapore. He used to be a great friend of mine. I lost him last year. Sorry to only see it's a very tragic, but we've been friends for so many. And every time I go to Singapore, this president is kind enough to receive me in his private office as a friend. And one time we were just talking about the education and how to move forward. And the meeting was scheduled for 10 minutes because being a president, the time is precious. But we ended up 1.5 hours speaking about the education and how to change what's happening in the globe. And so became a change leader. So never stop seeking the advice. And then the beautiful things, I have written a book called Sustainability, the Fourth Wave of Economy. And the president was kind enough to write me the foreword for that book. So this is one of the legacies I feel good. A president of a country will write me a foreword for a book. So that's another guy. But I will not give you this book anyway. All right? Anyway. So if it's not here, then where? If it's not here to this morning, today, then where? When are you going to change? Right? If it's not you, then who? And if it's not now, then please when? Tell me when. Right? And this is my social media. Am I on time here? You give me 10 out of 10. Thank you very much.